Remember when I talked nonstop about how dry it was for weeks and weeks and weeks during the winter time? That is definitely reversed, and it is raining as I'm speaking right now. We wanted to come out and show off the garden with this rain coming down on it, and we're days of rain right this minute, which is good, because again, we really were dry through the winter time, and now we're not. We went down and filmed at Plant Delights this morning. I don't know what order these will be in, but we got a pretty good video with Tony down at Plant Delights in the rain this morning. He was nice enough to stand out in the rain with us, and now we're at home filming in the rain. So the garden is looking really good right now. We need to mulch. I think that's really kind of where we are at this point. We've gotten annuals have been planted. I think we maybe are down to like 6-8 plants and that need to go in the ground, and that's kind of our normal. That's, you know, we about any time we ever finish putting everything in the ground, something has landed. You know, we bought something somewhere. That's just kind of normal for us. I want to definitely point out the amethyst redbud is now fully leafed out. The purple dwarf redbud. It's definitely more vigorous than the emerald redbud. Griffin's up in the window barking because Steph has a umbrella on her head over the camera, and I think he thinks it's a stranger with the umbrella. So if you can hear him barking in the background, he's very, very concerned about that. The Nice and Easy yucca, we planted these a month and a half ago or something at this point, a month ago at this point. They look great. That new growth comes out on these is kind of pink like that, and then slowly transitions into just variegated with a kind of a green and creamy white variegation. Butterfly weeds blooming already. I'll say that the perennials are ahead of where they normally are for us. And I think I may have said this in Sunday's question and answer video. Typically, you know, we're showing this garden off a month and a half ago. He's really concerned about this umbrella. We're showing the garden off a month and a half ago, and people in the north are going, wow, your garden is so far ahead of mine. Ours is still asleep. But then when yours wake up because they've been asleep for longer, they tend to race ahead. So I'm doing consultations with dormant gardens in the north, and then all of a sudden I'm doing consultations with, how are your perennials blooming already? And ours are just getting started at that point, despite having been out of the ground for so long. Because we had actual winter, this winter, they've gotten up, and we've got coneflowers blooming already, which is typically, again, a little bit later for us than this. Same thing with the butterfly weed. I just think that the winter chill hours benefited the perennials in dormancy and got them out of the ground much quicker, much more vigorous, more like they do in the north. Our agave, and there's going to be some agave stuff in Tony's video if it hasn't. Again, I don't know what the order of these will be, but he has agave spikes flowering all over the garden. I think he had 20 some coming into flower as of today when we were there. Hopefully it'll be years before ours does that. I hope we'll get another 10 years out of it sitting here. There's a penstemon behind it, that purple penstemon, which we missed the peak flower on. It's starting to fade, but we'll cut that back and it'll come right back out in flower again. But that purple foliage, those purple flowers behind that blue foliage on that agave is just, oh, it's so good. All the sedum are coming into bloom, and we'll kind of knock some of these sedum down off of the plants that they're trying to climb on a bit. We want them across the ground, but I don't want them actually climbing on things. But I think pretty much most of the sedums are coming into flower at this point, and or putting on a lot of growth. We have a lot of them here in the garden. At some point, we'll do kind of an all about sedum video. We've got upright sedum that most people have, and then a ton of ground cover sedum out here in the front garden. Steph went through last week and cut all of the annuals in half, basically by a third. No, sir, no more barking. He's very concerned about this umbrella. She went through and cut all the annuals by about a third, and they've already popped back out from that. Now, when I talked about fertilizing, and I've talked about this a bunch, we fertilize just kind of based on observation. So based on the fact that we put these in the ground, they basically doubled really quickly. We cut them by about a third to branch them out, and now they're branching out and they're already coming back into flower. I'm not going to fertilize. But if it slows down at all from that, because we need the garden to kind of be peak June 20th, when everybody's here for the open garden. And that was one thing I announced in Sunday's video, is that Juniper Level Botanic Garden will also be open as part of that for anybody who's coming to our garden. So you can go there on Friday the 20th in the morning, and then you'll either have a Friday evening, Saturday morning, or Saturday afternoon ticket to come here. So if you want to combine those things, extend your travel a little bit, you can go see a real bucket list garden while you're here in the area that's not typically open for that. So again, that's Friday morning. You can go to Plant Delights or Juniper Level Botanic Garden, and then then use your ticket to come here. And speaking of that garden, this was one of Plant Delights introductions right there. That sparkling burgundy pineapple lily, which will be in flower when the open garden happens. Last year they were up big and tall for that. What else is out here, Steph, that's kind of interesting? The clematis here is blooming on the back. This is Henry Eye. Of course, I just damaged that flower, but we'll get some more flowers on it over time. That's just one of the more, that particular clematis just seems to outbloom them all over the course of an entire season. When seeing that one around the neighborhood, we've got this netting up. I brought Griffin out so he would stop worrying about the umbrella. We've got this netting around the annuals, which is also really helping out. We've had preventing any rabbits from getting in here. It's rabbit breeding season here in the neighborhood, and when we walk there, we'll see 10 small rabbits right now in the course of walking around the neighborhood. We do have a lot of owls in the neighborhood, and I don't know if you can occasionally hear that in the videos, but the owls are talking just nonstop, and they tend to thin that crowd out just a little bit over the course of the season. But right now it's just peak rabbit season. And they'll even eat things they don't really like in order to stay safe. So if they can crawl under something like up in these bulbs that haven't gone dormant yet and hide under there, they'll come out and eat things they wouldn't necessarily normally eat, in order to stay safe. You want to spin around and show where the Empress of China dogwood is at this point? We definitely have less flowers on it. Again, it bloomed in the fall. I know people want this plant. I'm actually giving a talk in a few weeks at a plant symposium here in Raleigh, and this plant's on my list of plants that it would be in every garden if they were available. Growers have just had a real tough time with this plant. It's tough in the ground. It's just not in a nursery setting. Growers have had a real difficult time growing that one. You want to bounce into the backyard, Steph, and see what's looking good? I think this view from the end of the driveway into the back garden looks really good right now. Butterfly bushes are up, some of which are starting to bloom. Pomegranate is in bloom. Of course, the red sorrel always looking good. These were moved over here, and we're in a full wilt. Steph dug these from another spot that we wanted to put some different annuals in, and they just laid down flat and looked like they were going to die. We didn't panic and overwater them then. We watered them, but we didn't panic, and just start drowning them to get them to stand back up, because it's not possible to get them to stand back up. They didn't have enough roots to support the amount of foliage that was on them at the time. So some of that foliage had to die, right? And then it did. It sacrificed what it needed to sacrifice, and now new growth is coming back really, really fast on them. But that stuff is just so good out here in the garden. Occasionally, the green will get eaten by various critters in the back here, but somehow the red sorrel is pretty much left alone. Occasionally, it'll get eaten a little bit. The golden sky pencil over there, I think, will be more available this year. Anytime it's in the video, somebody's going to ask about it. And yes, it is a gold sky pencil holly, and yes, it is really good. And you can see how vibrant it is there on this rainy day in the garden. A little slower growing than obviously green sky pencil hollies are, because green sky pencil holly has more chlorophyll, so they grow much faster. So this thing's a little slow, but I think you'll see it in garden centers next year, and it'll be everywhere. But it is a really good plant. All the gardenias are coming into flower now. It's pretty typical that they flower in May. This is diamond spire gardenia. We'll show you one on the other side. Of course, we have a porcelain vine coming up through the middle of it, like so many things in this garden. And I just did a big nothing right there. I broke it off, which is what always happens with these porcelain vines. This is a terrible noxious weed. It's got a beautiful berry on it. That's the entire nice thing I can say about it, is that one time during the year, as it's about to produce more seed, it's kind of attractive. Other than that, this is one of the worst invasive things we have in the garden. And you can see interesting leaf on it. And I'll show you in this butterfly bush right here. It gets all the way up through something. So it really gets itself as well established before you see it frequently. And again, it's got to be dug out. Me doing that, it has these, it's segmented right here. And so what happens with these segments is they break easily. So an animal or something like that could come by. It would have the opportunity then to lay on the ground and root into a new spot potentially. Right? It's got a lot of strategies it can use, but that segmented growth really prevents you from being able to get it out of the ground. You know, it's kind of wild. It pops right there on those spots. And of course, it'll die on the path right there. It doesn't have any seed on it till later in the season. I think these variegated boxwoods are real standouts in the garden, especially on a rainy day like this. You know, it's just super, super bright pop of color. You see a little mulch out here. We had some extra mulch from the last time we had mulched, and it was in a pile, so I got that out. That's why it's a little darker than normal, because it's been composting some in a pile. But I've used that up. We've got to get some new mulch for the rest of it. There's some dianthus we had originally planted as an annual back here, and it has perennialized, and I got to keep this stuff. This is, you know, when you have conifers in your garden, dwarf conifers in your garden, you know, be careful with them. Got a question on the Sunday video about the razzmatazz grapevine, which I got to cut a little bit on here. When it comes out in the spring, you know, these grapes grow 6 feet in just a few weeks, so they'll eat things really quickly if we don't come in here and do a little bit of pruning on it. But they were asking about the fruit on it, and this razzmatazz has a very small fruit. It's very sweet, it's very tasty. But it is small. We just let the animals take it, okay? But they were asking about the fruit, and there's a ton of fruit on this thing. So you see the fruit forming on there? It's a ton of it, and they're teeny tiny right now. You know, they'll mature over the course of the next couple of months out here. But I did want to show off that it's absolutely loaded with fruit. But we don't. It would take for, you know, these teeny little grapes, it would take a long time to really get a meaningful amount off of it, other than walking past it and enjoying one out here in the garden. And the rest of it's just for you know, any birds that want to take advantage of it. There are few peonies left. Of course, the rain has knocked them over today. But this is, again, the best peonies we've ever had out here. They're actually laying on things. Normally we go, oh, we had peonies. But this year we're like, wow, we have peonies. And the whole neighborhood's, all the peonies in the neighborhood are like that this year, just because we had more cold. Most of the agapanthus are blooming at this point with open flowers on them. If we have any hummingbirds have shown up. I've heard hummingbirds a couple times. Steph and I were out here the other day and definitely heard one, but I actually haven't put my eyes on one yet. But they'll take advantage of those, any of these deep-throated flowers. Some of the salvias and the veronica is blooming. Agastache's up but not blooming. Again, some of the perennial salvias are all coming back and really starting to bloom. We haven't had any really hot weather yet, although this Friday I think it's supposed to be 93 or something like that. I'm not ready for that, but the salvia is ready for it and well prepared for it. We still got our containers sitting here on the patio. Haven't distributed them around the garden since the video went up last week. And I got a lot of pruning to do. And of course, it's really accentuated by the water sitting on the leaves that this Loropetalum is in desperate need to be pruned. All the alliums are almost done, but I think they're structurally just as beautiful after they're done blooming as they are when they were in bloom a week or so ago. And then, again, this side of the garden looks pretty great. Another question I've been getting is on the golden Oakland holly. You know, that thing is maybe 4 years old now, right, Steph? 4 years, and it went from a 3-gallon container, maybe 18 inches tall, possibly 24 inches tall. It's now 10, that's right at 10 feet probably. I pruned a little bit out of the top of it earlier in the season. If you saw that, it's in a little bit of shade, so it was trying to put on this weird leader, reaching for light, but I pruned that off, and now that it's come back out, it looks great. So I just get a few questions on it. Will it get too big for the spot? Everything in this garden will get too big for the spot is the answer. You know, we've got a lot of things out here, and so we've done a lot of rearranging. And if you're coming to the open garden, I think you'll be amazed. I mean, you'll recognize the garden. We still have the paths in the same place, but we have a ton of things. A lot of things moved around, a lot of things shuffled, and there's a lot of new material back here. And a lot of things have filled in where we had some kind of newer spaces that we had done last year, and by the middle of June, we'll really have filled in at that point. The spot where we put all of our amaryllis at the end of winter, they're in bloom now, as obviously as you can see, but we've been clumping them all here. We typically will get about 3 amaryllis bulbs every Christmas and grow them inside and enjoy them in there, and then we plant them in the ground. And we've always just concentrated on putting them in this one spot for some reason. And like Steph said, it was kind of a, you know, when you visit other gardens, you know, you get inspired. And we were at Dr. Armitage's garden, and rather than having them all in one spot over the years, he has planted them in multiple spots. Wow, what a crazy thing to see. You know, it seems like we would have, as much as we've distributed ones of everything everywhere, it seems like that's something we would have figured out. Osmanthus needs pruning, and with a rain that's on it right now, and it's coming down pretty good here, has pulled it down into the path. It'll stand back up afterwards, but it still needs to be pruned. This one's in a little bit too much shade. This area is a crowded neighborhood. This camellia is going to get some pruning on it. This calla lily needs some control added to it. We may pop a couple of these out of the ground and have them for giveaways for the open garden. I think that would probably be a good idea, Steph, right? I mean, we need to thin it down a little bit, so we can definitely get a couple out of here for that. And it's on this Scent Amazing gardenia, which is just starting to open. You saw the Diamond Spire and the Scent Amazing have these single flowers instead of double flowers, but look how many they're going to be. Look at this. It's basically flower to flower, and in another week, you know, I'll put this photo up on Instagram when it's in full flower, but it will be solid white a week from now, especially when we get a 90-degree day later in the week. But you can see this calla lily is being a bit of a bully here in the garden and needs some control added to it. The Weigela back here needs some control added. So we'll get that done. Those videos are going to go up soon, and the only reason I'm not working on it today and I'm running my mouth about it is because it's raining, and it's not fun to prune in the rain. If you've ever, and I've done it as a landscaper, you know, you're going to get paid. This week is not a fun week to work in anyone's garden, but you know, in the spring you'll have, you know, we would have promised 20 people we were going to do a job for them in the month of May, and these 3 days of rain weren't going to stop that. So I would have been pruning this today, but it wouldn't have been fun at all. And I think you can see this view, you know, out into this space back here, how layered and how great it looks right now. I think on these cloudy days, and it's really starting to rain heavy, on these cloudy, what would be a dreary kind of day, all of these chartreuse and variegated things really brighten the space up and make it look cheery, in my opinion, you know, and that's why I'm so drawn to them, and I can't stop buying variegated plants. and chartreuse colored plants. So there you go. There's a view in the garden on a rainy day here in early May. Let us know down below what's looking good in your garden, and if you're in an area that's getting some rain, hopefully you're getting some rain so that we can build up these reservoirs and not worry about watering our gardens during the summer with, you know, with some sort of regulations in place or anything like that. That would kind of be nice to go through the summer without any of that happening here in Raleigh. Thanks for watching.